Good day everyone, my name is Arbaini A. Mukama, the first presenter of a Group 6 or a Lesson 6 titled Elements and Principles of Arts. Elements of art are visual. Taking off from the scientific reference, elements of arts are akin to the atoms that are defined as the units or building blocks of matter. Together in a variety of combinations and formations, they have the ability to create molecules such as water, or the more complex sucrose. These formulations are almost the same with elements of art when they are joined together.
So pag inikumpara natin sa scientific reference ang elements of arts ay ito yung mga katulad ng atoms na kapag pinagsama-sama ay pwedeng makabuo ng tubig. Ganon din sa elements of arts. Kapag pinagsama-sama ang lahat ng elements of arts ay pwedeng makabuo din o makagawa ng piece of art o larawan.
Elements of arts are generally produced when something is done to the medium after the technique is carried out. It must be underscored, however, that all works of require all elements to be present. Some art forms also necessitate and some of the elements as they are inherent in the very nature of them. For example, the sculpture. Sculptures automatically have the following elements, with or without the decisions of the artist. To include them, the shape, form, space. Without these elements, there is no sculptures to begin with. Elements are the necessary preconditions for the creations of art. To enumerate the elements of arts and designs are the following: line, shape, and form, space, colors, and texture. The first one or number 1 is line. A line refers to a point moving at an identifiable path. It has length, directions. It also has width. It is one-dimensional, however, it has the capacity to either define the perimeters of the art and or become a substantial component of the compositions. Although a line is a simple, it has a variations in view of its orientations, directions, shape, and thickness. These variations import not only the visual elements into the artwork, but suggest meaning or message being conveyed by the artist. Known for using lines to provide the outline or contour of the figures he portrays in his work, the Mr. Keith Haring, the first executed the public mural with his work the Todos Juntos Podemos Parar el SIDA, which means Together We Can Stop AIDS, in Barcelona in 1989. In 2014 or 2014, it was recreated at the foyer of the Museo de Art Contemporani de Barcelona, or Barcelona Museum of Contemporary Art, to commemorate it, or para ipagdiwang ang kanyang gawa na Todos Juntos Podemos Parar el SIDA. Mr. Haring battled with HIV or AIDS, to which he succumbed to in 1990, which means nakipaglaban daw ng HIV or sakit na AIDS si Mr. Haring at sumuko din siya noong 1990. Figure 51, Keith Haring, the Todos Juntos Podemos Parar el SIDA, or meaning we can all together stop AIDS. Plastic paint on wall, MACBA or MACBA Collections, Barcelona City Council long term. A quality that is ascribed to lines is its ability to direct the eyes to follow movement or provide hints as to a work's focal point. The orientations in which we are most accustomed to, such as the assertive force of gravity, grounding objects, or the sad rays or up and down vibrations that informs us of an earthquake. The gustiness of wind from the window or the directions of the rainfall conjures different images of lines. The first images of lines is horizontal and vertical lines. Refers to the orientations of the line. Horizontal lines are normally associated with rest or calm. Landscape often contains these elements as work like this often connote a visual sense of being parallel to the ground. The second is diagonal and crook lines. Diagonal lines convey movement and instability, although the progressions can be seen. Crook or jog lines, on the other hand, are reminiscence of violence, conflicts, or struggle. For example, this. The letter C is, or the third one is the curved lines. These are the lines that bend or coil. They allude to softness, grace, flexibility, or even sensuality. Figure 52, Francisco de Goya, or Porque Esconderlos, which means why hide them? In 1797 to 99, Etching and Aquatint, this print is work number 30 of the Caprico series, the first editions, Madrid 1799, in Museo del Prado collections. One of the most important Spanish artists is Francisco de Goya. Known for his prints, he is a master of edge work and use of aquatint. He made use of this medium to articulate his political views about the ills of society, war scenes, and even the dreamlike and grotesque, while still engaging with what was happening around him. As with most etchings and other types of prints, lines are dominant visual components. Figure 53, Theodore Géricault, The Raft of Medusa, 1818 to 19, oil on canvas, Museo du Louvre, Paris. Lines may not necessarily be explicit or literally shown, as what many examples will portray. Implied lines may be just as powerful, if not more. In the Raft of Medusa, the positions and orientations of the bodies that are aboard the raft are predominantly diagonal in directions. This creates not only movement but also tension in the scene. Based on an actual event, the painting depicts the 1816 wreckage of the French government ship called Medusa. The second element of art is the shape and form. These two are related to each other in the sense that they define the space occupied by the object of art. Shape refers to two dimensions, height and width. Ang shape daw ay tumutukoy sa dalawang dimension. Ito ang height and width. While form refers to three dimensions, habang ang form naman daw ay nahati sa tatlong dimension, ang height, width, at ang depth. Even if shapes are part of a bigger picture, each can be identified by breaking the visual components apart and making distinctions based on what we know and what we have seen. Two categories can be used as a broad distinctions. The first one is geometric. Geometric, these shapes find origin in mathematical propositions. As such, its translations and use are often man-made. This includes shapes such as squares, triangles, cubes, circles, spheres, and cones, among others. Figure 54, Piet Mondrian, the composition with color planes and gray lines. 1918, oil on canvas, private collection. Let's move to the second categories, the organic. Organic shapes are those readily occurring in nature, often irregular and asymmetrical. The design of the vase in Figure 55 is foliage, a sample from a series that made use of a morning glories. The Figure 55, Louis Comfort Tiffany, the designer, Tiffany Furnaces, the maker, vase made of Favre glass, ca. 1913, gift of Louis Comfort Tiffany Foundation in 1951, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. Shape may also be implied. For instance, Raphael's famous painting, The Madonna of the Meadows, depicts three figures, Mary, the young Jesus in the right side and the young John the Baptist in the left side. The positions in which the group takes allude to a triangular shape reinforced by the garb of Mary. Figure 58, Raphael, the Madonna of the Meadows, 1505, oil on panel, Kunsthistorisches Museum, Vienna. The fourth element of arts is space. Related to shape and form is space. It is usually inferred from a sense of depth, whether it is real or simulated. Real space is three-dimensional. Like what has been previously mentioned, sculptures are perfect examples of artworks that bear these elements. However, this can only be manifested in two-dimensional artworks through the use of different techniques or the use or non-use of area around a drawing or picture. The figure 57 Anish Kapoor, The Cloud Gate in 2004, located in Chicago, Illinois. In the middle of the AT&T Plaza at the Millennium Park in the Loop Community Area in Chicago, the iconic Cloud Gate occupies a considerable space shaped like a bean, hence its other referent, the public sculptures was unveiled in 2004. The dent in the middle offers a gap in which people can pass through and gaze at the sculpture in a different perspective. However, not all works are sculptures. In two-dimensional artworks, they may be implied. A. Positive and negative space. Usually identified with the white space is the negative space. The positive space, on the other hand, is the space where shadow is heavily used. The second, or the letter B, is three-dimensional space. Can be simulated through a variety of techniques such as shading and illusions of three-dimensionality. Dimensionality can be achieved in a two-dimensional work. And the fifth element of art is the color. Color is perhaps one of the elements that enhances the appeal of an artwork. Its effect has range, allowing the viewer to make responses based on memory and the emotions, instinct, among others. This element is a property of light as it's reflected of the object. Color is not intrinsic to an object, and without light, one cannot perceive color. Much of what we know about colors begin with the notions of a color. Theory that was first unrevealed by the experiments undertaken by Sir Isaac Newton in 1666, a ray of sunlight passing through a prism reveals an array of colors akin to that of a rainbow. An offshoot of this color theory is the creation of a color wheel. Figure 58 Color Wheel, courtesy of Jaime Castiglio. The color wheel corresponds to the first property of color, hue. Hue, these dimensions of color gives its name. It can be subdivided into a primary colors, secondary colors, and tertiary colors. The primary colors is red, yellow, and blue, while the secondary colors is green, orange, and violet. And the last is tertiary colors. 6 in totals, these hues are achieved when primary and secondary colors are mixed. So, ang tertiary colors ay ito yung tawag pag pinaghalo ang primary colors at ang secondary colors. The second property of color is value. This refers to the brightness or darkness of color. Often, this is used by artists to create the illusions of depth and solidity. A particular mood communicate a feeling or establishing a scene, for example, day and night. The light colors, the first is light colors, the second is the dark colors, the third is the tint, and the last is the shade. The third properties of color, intensity. This is the color's brightness or dullness. It is identified as the strength of color, whether it is vivid or muted. To achieve a specific intensity of a color, one may add either gray or its complementary color. The first is bright or warm colors, means positive energy, while the dull or cool colors, sedate, soothing, seriousness, or calm. To better understand intensity of color harmonies are to be considered in interior design. We often hear designers refer to a color schemes, a guide for selecting not only wall paint but also furniture and decor. However, color harmonies are also integral considerations not only for pictorial arts but also for other art forms. Monochromatic harmonies use the variations of a hue. An example is Claude Monet's The Houses of Parliament. Figure 58, Claude Monet, The Houses of Parliament in 19,000. Oil on Canvas, Mr. and Mrs. Martin Ryerson Collections, Bucket in 1933. Complementary harmonies involves two colors opposite each other in the color wheel. Since they are at a contrary positions, the reaction is most intense. Figure 60, Cima da Conegliano, Giovanni Battista Cima. The Three Saints, Roche, Anthony Abbot, and Lucy. Oil on canvas transferred to wood, ca. 1513, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York. Notice the altar piece featuring Saint Anthony Abbot and Saint Roche. Figure 60. Along with them is Saint Lucy, patron of the blind, whose red and green garb beautifully showcases an example of complementary harmonies. Analogous harmonies make use of two colors beside each other in the color wheel. Figure 61, Edgar Degas, Before the Race. In 1882 to 1884, oil on panel Henry Walters, beheaded in 1931, Walters Art Museum, or WAM. All in all, color presents a multitude of possibilities that affects how works of art are taken in by the viewer. Just taking a look at the fiery and passionate reds of the clouds and the skies in Edvard Munch's The Scream would bring oneself to ask, did Munch depict the romantic sunset or a warning of a coming horrors? A clue is not in the colors alone, but rather in the face of the man himself that is prominent in the painting. His shriek will point to the latter. What is illustrated is that colors and imagery works together to deliver a message, whether the one intended by the artist or what is facilitated by our own experiences. Figure 62, Edvard Munch, The Scream. In 1893, Tempera and Cassin on cardboard, Munch Museum National Galleries, Oslo. And the last elements of art is texture. Textures, like space, texture can be either real or implied. This element in an artwork is experienced through the sense of touch and sight. These elements renders the art object tactile. Figure 63, Franz Porbus the Younger, Margarita Gonzaga, Princess of Mantua. Oil on canvas, bequest of Collis P. Huntington in 1990, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York. Often texture is commonly associated with textiles. In the portrait rendered by court painter Franz Porbus the Younger, Princess Margarita's garb is adorned in opulent bead and stitch work that are befitting her rank. This was achieved using the techniques employed by the artists in creating the work. The first is texture in the two-dimensional plane.